Hey guys, welcome back to the 4-1 Wheat. This week in the Weekly Wheaties, episode 9, we're going to talk about passwords. And I've made a bunch of blog posts last year on passwords. I did like a string of like 3 or 4 different ones that I would encourage y'all to go read. This is going to be a good synopsis of kind of what I talked about with maybe a little bit more in depth since we have a little bit more time. Ultimately, when we talk about passwords, first of all, since you have a cell phone, I'm assuming at some point, people don't have passwords on their phones. And before we even get into like email accounts and online and social media, your phone is one of the most used devices where you access anything and everything. And I've seen people without passcodes on their phone. Even a 4-digit passcode on a phone is more secure, or is secure enough. You don't have to do an 8-digit, you don't have to do a word. Obviously those are going to be more secure, but please, please, please put a 4-digit passcode on your phone. There's a few reasons why. The main reason is if you ever lose or get your phone stolen, someone can't hack your accounts that are stored on your phone. And you say, yeah, well, I don't have anything stored on my phone. You don't think you do, but in reality, you really do. Because if your email's on there, they can access any of your other accounts just by resetting your password to your Amazon account, for instance. It sends you an email, they have your email, they reset your password, boom, they got your Amazon account. They can search your email and see what other accounts you have, your bank account info, for instance. So that's just email, not to mention everything you do on a web browser, all your social media accounts, all the apps that you use, the list goes on and on. Put a password on your phone, even if it's a 4-digit. At minimum, at least make it like all the same number. Like that's even more secure than nothing, because people might not even, don't do 1, 2, 3, 4 or 0, 0, 0, 0. But other than that, you're pretty good. I would encourage you to do something a little bit more not as obvious, and definitely not the same passcode as your debit card PIN number, and like not the same 4 digits of your cell phone or anything that's obvious. But if you like absolutely have to do something simple, it's going to be better than nothing. Please, 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 please put a PIN number password on your phones. All right, now the gist about passwords boils down to 2 basic things that I've even talked about in former podcasts. Security versus convenience. How secure is this password versus how convenient is it for me to remember it, input it, store it, save it, whole 9 yards. In the password world, there is something called entropy, or password entropy. And what that boils down to is essentially how strong is your password. And again, I've wrote this in a blog post, but I need to reiterate it because it's so important. An 8-digit or an 8-character password that includes an uppercase letter, a lowercase letter, special character, and a number is not as secure as a 15-character password that is all lowercase letters. The way people deal with quote-unquote hacking passwords is it's all about brute computer strength. And the longer the password is, the more difficult it is to hack. I know that's counterintuitive because we've been drilled in our brains when we go create passwords for emails and websites and things of that nature. They all say, oh, you need an uppercase letter and a lowercase letter and a special character, and don't put this and don't put that. None of that makes any sense to me, because if they all just said at minimum of 12 characters, but make it whatever you want, it would be way more secure than an 8-digit or an 8-character password that has all these crazy uppercase, lowercase, special character that doesn't make any sense. Literally 4 words, Garrett's driving a car, is more secure than an 8-character password with all the craziness to it. It doesn't make sense. I know it's counterintuitive, but I promise you that's the way the hacking in the password world works. What that doesn't dictate is people that use what's called social engineering to hack passwords. So typically passwords that get hacked because people find out what your password is either because you have it written down somewhere, it's like stored by your computer at your desk, you emailed it to someone, you texted it to someone, or you used your last name with your birth date or the street you grew up or your pet's name or your mother's maiden name or any of those things that you shouldn't use as a password. People do social engineering to figure those out. The most secure password is password by obscurity. Security by obscurity. The more obscure it is, the more secure it is. So again, I'm driving right now with some 4 random things I see. I see a billboard, a tree, a barrel, and a sign. So literally, if my password was sign, barrel, billboard, tree, like literally that's a really strong password as far as entropy is concerned. Now, if we want to use that password on a website that's going to require us to do all these crazy characters, capitalize the first letter, put a special character in between 2 words, and put a number on the end, and you're good. You're golden, right? So let's pick 2 of those words. I have billboard and I have barrel. Capital billboard, money sign, capital barrel, 2, 4, right? That's pretty random. Has nothing to do with me. It has nothing to do with the website I'm putting this password in. It's security by obscurity. The problem is you're trusting that website that you put that password on with your security. And the reason people say you don't use the same password across multiple websites is because if website X gets targeted and gets hacked and your data is now breached, that person now has access to your username, email, and password and can literally go try it on 1,000 different websites by using a crawler, which is like a hacking tool, right? So that is one of the main reasons you shouldn't use the same password, because if you ever do get hacked, they don't just have your information for this website, they have it for any other website you've used that password for. So the next best thing would be to use a different password for every website. Now we're getting back into this security versus convenience. Having a different website, having a different password for every website is not convenient. I get that. So there's multiple ways of doing that. Either we have the same main password and we put some clarifiers on the end, which is the next step. I don't do this. I have done this in the past. So if it was your Facebook password, you use the same main password, and then for the end, you would just do FB, shortcut for Facebook, or YT for YouTube, or GM for Gmail, right? 999 times out of 1,000, the people that hack these websites and get your passwords aren't looking at what your password is. They're just using a bot to basically go try the same password somewhere else. They're not thinking to look and see if there's any systematic way of you creating your password and testing it out on another one. There is a chance, which is again where the security versus convenience come in, which leads me to the last step, which means we use what's called a password manager. Apple uses one called Keychain. Google uses one. I'm not sure what the name of it is because I don't own any Google tablets or phones. I'm not much in the Google space. That's not a knock on Google. It's just the way my processes work. Microsoft does not currently have one. I've read and researched that they're working on one that will be tied into the Microsoft 365 family account, if you will. Really popular one is LastPass. There's 1Password. There's all these other, there's hundreds of them nowadays. The one I've been using more recently, and I have no affiliate link or anything to share, it's just one I did pay for it after I used the free version for a few months to test it out, and I researched their security, and the ways they go about securing your data is it's never stored on their server, it's stored on your devices, and that's kind of proven by if you change a password on a computer and you don't connect and update and basically sync your devices, you don't get the same passwords. Because it's not synced to a cloud. It's synced from device to device to device, and they're all basically password protected on the device itself. So I like Bitwarden. There's a free account where you can have one account. You can't share passwords, obviously, but one account, I want to say it's unlimited passwords, and it's only on a certain number of devices. I paid, I think it was $40 per year, and you get 6 accounts, so you can share it with family members. So you can share passwords and give other people their access to their own personal accounts to share. So Bitwarden is going to be my app pick of the week. I'll show you a quick video of how that works, what it looks like, how you can fill in a website with a password by using Face ID or Touch ID or entering a master password. So you do have to have a master password to access Bitwarden, which I realize is kind of counterintuitive, but the premise here is you just have one password to remember. And again, we can make it more secure by entropy, by making it something that's easily remembered to us that doesn't make sense to anyone else. Billboard, $, barrel 24 with some capital B's in there, right? I literally made that up driving, never thought about it before until today, and I've already remembered it twice. So that's a prime example of how it works. A lot of the other ones, it's just a matter of ease of use. There's apps that work on your phone, so it ties into all of your apps. You can copy usernames and passwords. There's web plugins for browsers, or browser plugins for like Chrome or Safari or Edge if you're using any of those. And then the last bit I would suggest is to make sure whichever app of those you do use, so Bitwarden does this, so does LastPass, is to turn on two-factor authentication. That way, if someone ever does try to hack into your account, they have to have a two-factor number, which generates randomly every 30 seconds, which is done so through an app, which is on your phone, which is another reason you need to have a password PIN number on your phone. So if someone does take your phone, steals your phone, you lose it, whatever, they still can't get into your authentication app in order to reset passwords for you. It all goes hand in hand. Again, security by obscurity, having 2 or 3 different ways in order to reset passwords, having multiple ways to or not multiple ways, but having one way to access all of your passwords that is still secure because you can access it in different mediums, essentially. There's a web browser, you can access your Bitwarden account stuff too, so that still works that way. The last thing I want to leave you with is a little bit of humor. Back when I first got into watching YouTube, not necessarily posting on YouTube, one of my earliest memories is watching a guy named Toby Turner, who goes by the name Tobuscus, who did a bunch of random, what I started watching from him was something called literal trailers, where he basically dubbed over a movie trailer. It's pretty funny stuff. But he did a series called Rants. And one of the most obvious rants, or one of the rants he did that I still remember to this day, is what he called password rants. And I'll link that below just because it's a really obvious, like, in your face, yes, we can't use the same password because we've used it already. Okay, well, if it was the same one, I just tried to type it in, let me put it in, right? Well, if you start using all of these password managers, you don't have to remember your passwords anymore. And not only that, you want to make your password way crazy secure with entropy. So sometimes you might not even know what your password is because you can let the password generators literally generate a password for you that's like 25 characters, uppercase, lowercase, special character. So the levels of entropy is like ridiculously long. I won't name names, he can call himself out, but I do have one friend of mine who admitted to me, I don't know if he does this for everything, he doesn't remember any of his passwords because every time he goes to log into a site, he stores it in the web browser, and if he tries to access it on a different computer, he always does the forgot password. And then when he types a new one, he just does some random characters. So he doesn't even know it. Very secure, not convenient at all. So if that's you, let me know. Is there any other ways that y'all manage passwords? In the past, I've even used like OneNote and created a password protected file. I've seen people do that in on their iPhones through the notes. You can create a password protected note and put all your passwords there. That's one way to do it. A lot less convenient and a lot less secure because you're probably using the same password And you're also kind of limiting to where you store that. So it's not always accessible either. So with that, hope you learned something. Hope you're a lot more safer using passwords. Maybe go check out LastPass or Bitwarden or 1Password or one of these other apps. I'm all for what works best for you. What works best for me might not work best for you. So until then, see you next time.